So when I ask for something, the Father often gives it to me. I often ask him just questions or for him to reveal something to me. So my experience with black men has been mostly terrible. I would say maybe like 90% of the relationships or interactions I've had with black men have just been, you would think it would leave a worse taste in my mouth than what it has. But because I'm in Christ, I feel like, I have the ability to forgive and I have the ability to see past, some of these situations in which I've been through. Like some guy the other day, he felt like it was necessary to touch my waist. It wasn't necessary to touch my waist. Some black guy yesterday, trying to use some baits. We were working at this job and he was talking about how GoPuff had to sell on condoms. And you know what? Men say these kinds of things because they want to see how you react. If your interaction with me is, I want to see if she's a harlot or not, and that's how you're looking at me, like, why would I want anything to do with you? I mean, some women, they might fall for that. I personally have been shown discernment by God concerning men and these things, but, this is a very strong perception that I've developed over time concerning black men. It's just the sexual immorality that tends to be associated with them. And that doesn't mean like all black men are sexually immoral. You cannot put every single black man under the same heading. You just can't. I just feel like individuals are individuals, but I feel like I have to guard myself around black men more so than other races of men. Usually my initial interactions with black men end up turning into something sexually degrading. So that's really sad, but that's just been my experience. Of course, you cannot judge everyone by your own experience. I just pay careful attention. And I make it known, like, I'm not somebody that you can just sleep with. There's this other thing where a lot of black men, and I don't think they know that they're doing it, because I feel like I used to do it before I became a Christian, but the way that they flirt is by being degrading. I remember I was at this liquor store in Florida and a black guy worked there. Like the whole time he was just trying to nick at me. Like I think the first 15 minutes I was there, I had dropped like a case of cans, and of course he made fun of that, and I got really like straight and serious with him so that he knew where I stood. And I was just like, oh yeah, it was an accident, sometimes those happen, and just turned around and went back on my business. Just to let him know, like, I'm not one of these girls that's going to sit back and banter with you, go back and forth, because by the end of it, I know that I'm going to be depleted. You're going to be saying probably abusive things towards me. And so I used to do that because I thought it was flirting, and maybe with some people it is, but it's just a sign of like toxic behavior in my opinion. So this has been my experience with black men. And so I had asked the Father, I was like, can you show me a decent black man? And the reason why I ask these things is because I have asked plenty of times and God has shown me exactly what I've asked for. So yesterday I was working somewhere and there was a man there and he was black. He was possibly like Brazilian black or something, because he definitely was not from the US and he had an accent and it sounded like he spoke Spanish, but I tried to speak to him in Spanish and he didn't really respond. So I think he might be Brazilian and he might speak Portuguese, which is very similar. But yeah, so I was thinking about this dude like a couple times last night because I was just like, he's just a different grade, like he is. And he didn't do anything spectacular. He just did these very basic, like courteous things. Like I had dropped something on the floor and he picked it up. He didn't do it to get my attention. He didn't do it because people were watching. He just naturally did it. And you can tell, like he wasn't looking for the glory of man. He just did it. He saw something wrong and he fixed it. That says a lot. So the other times I would just be walking in his direction and he would kind of move out the way and, put his arm out and let me walk first. Gentleman move. That's like equivalent to opening the door or pulling out your lady's chair. Then on top of that, I was lifting something heavy. And he looks at me and he's like, do you need help with that? My jaw almost dropped open. Like, I was like, who are you and where did you come from? Okay? Because these are just very simple things that people can, not only men, but people can do for one another, and not even for one another, but just to do it in general, because it makes everybody else's lives easier in the long run. So I think the guy was actually a Christian, but I didn't really get a chance to talk to him more. But I remember last year I was working at a different job and there was a young guy there. He was 19 and I was only there for about 5 minutes and I was carrying something and he was like, hey, let me help you with that. I said, who are you and what do you want? But it turns out, we started conversing and he actually was a Christian too. So for some people, the way to their heart is feeding them. For me, the way to my heart is, can I pray for you? And so he actually asked if he could pray for me, and he went out to his car, got his Bible, and started like prophesying to me then and there. And I was like, oh, bro, if you were like 15 years older. But yeah, no, it's definitely not happening. I just like to kind of look at the behaviors of men and just kind of, say, this is a good thing, this is a good thing, this is probably not a good thing. And just analyze those things so I can know what to look for concerning a man. Just because somebody's cute, which the Brazilian guy, he wasn't really my type. Like, I typically like the soccer player, possibly basketball player look. I like not necessarily super tall guys, but usually men that are taller than me, and are slim. He definitely was more so shorter and not big or anything, but more like the football build. But that's why God says he looks on the heart and not appearance, because we also have to get in that mindset that just because a person looks a certain way doesn't mean that they're necessarily good. And I've had that situation where I've dated the soccer looking guy, and he was the worst guy that I ever dated, and probably will be the worst guy that I ever will be with, because my husband's up next. I'm not doing anything in between. But yeah, so this guy, not necessarily my type concerning appearance, but his heart was absolutely beautiful, and that is much more important than anything else. This is why a lot of relationships and a lot of situationships fail, because people are often putting appearance before they are putting values and character and such. And so because they're coming out of such a vain mentality and disposition, that's typically how their relationships align as well. This is also why I do not wear too much makeup anymore. I would say I don't wear it at all. I'm wearing chapstick and castor oil. It sounds bad, but it's really good for your lips. And so I put it on my lips, and sometimes I put it on my face. So yeah, because I honestly want a man to look at me for me and not the makeup that I'm wearing on my face, And I think a lot of men, they honestly don't even like makeup as much as women wear it in the first place. So, I mean, that's not really what drives me. I'm more comfortable without makeup. I'm not looking in the mirror every 5 seconds anymore like I used to. And plus, I just accept who God has created me to be. I want my heart to be clean. I don't want my makeup to be on fleek, It could still be on fleek and I'd be suffering from depression and anxiety. That's why it's important to get your heart clean so you're not suffering from all these mental issues. That's also why it's important to make sure that your mate isn't so stuck on appearances, because if they are, then they're probably going to be dealing with a lot of mental issues as well. So the truth is, when a person has a lot of energy to do things for other people, to be helpful, to take care of the environment around them, it means that they are probably in a more decent mental state than a lot of other people, because you do have to have the energy to not only take care of yourself, but also to take care of other people. And so that's what you want to look for in a mate. Unfortunately, if you're distracted by a bunch of things, money, even food, vanity, you're not going to have as much energy or room to be able to help other people. So back to this Brazilian guy. He was very gentle, very calm. He seemed at peace. He seemed helpful. That's a thumbs up in my book. What he is giving off is sustainability, that he can remain calm during the storm. That's what you want to look for, because if a man is so focused on money or getting women or baby mama, whatever, that kind of stuff, then the sustainability aspect tends to reduce favorably, because he, again, is distracted by everything else.